I just now know it in a way that I didn't. So that's part of what I have to figure out now. Like that question, who are you? One thing that's been important for me is that I do meet people and I do assess them after I meet them. I haven't been one of those people, even though people think that I'm a person who like, she don't like white people. No, that, hasn't been me, but I'm probably more leery than I ever have been of just people in general, and especially white people. Yeah. Especially white people who that they have the answer. I much prefer to work with people who will tell me up front they don't have my or our best interests.
Giles, let me ask you a question. Nikuyah, I want you to jump in on this, right? Does white Charlottesville have problems taking orders from a Black female?
Of course it does. I mean, I think.
So why won't people just say that?
I think because people have too much skin in the game to be on the right side of history, to be on the right side of the struggle, to get credit for being part of the solution. Like there's so much white self-esteem baked into being on the winning side that the question is, whose side are you on?
Yeah.
Like if you're not on the Black woman mayor's side, who you are a fan of, who is doing the things she ran on and said she was going to do, you take back that approval because what? I don't know, the chess game didn't play out the way you thought it would. I think it's complicated, the situation in this town, but it's not complicated for Black people. It's clear. And white people are confused. They want to be on the good team. They want to be on the right side, the progressive, the people I think Mayor Walker is describing and talking about as more dangerous. I could say we, right? That's me, I guess, progressive white dude, want to be on the right side of the struggle, want to be on the right side of history. But why we heard over and over again from our Black guests, white people, can you just get out of the way? Can you just stop?
But why are people, and I'm gonna just say you because you're my man.
But it's more important than just getting out the way. Like when you have had centuries of, and even people who will say, because it's one person on my Facebook post who's always commenting, I grew up poor. They just don't understand white privilege. They think it's all about where you are at a class level. And that's not the only factor there. But it's also about relinquishing some of that privilege and letting it go when it would benefit you so that it can benefit others. That is what I'm running into the most resistance, when people have to give up, whether it's anything from something tangible to they actually have to give up even that white savior mentality. They don't want to let it go. They have to feel that that what is normal for them to be influencing influence in the future, they have to be able to stay in it that way. So the mindset change that's required for people to, again, you got to get out of the way, let us do our thing, but you also can't hold on to everything you have and expect equity to ever become a reality, for justice ever to become a reality. You can't hold on to your Commonwealth attorney job and then talk about reform measures, but then also lock people up. You can't hold on to your nonprofit job and that requires people to stay sick in a way for you to maintain a job without doing everything you can every day to work yourself out of a job. And the level of sacrifice that's required to truly eventually dismantle systems, very few people understand that. So that's part of the problem. They think they know everything. And then it's just like, who is she? She doesn't know. But they don't know how to dismantle systems. But then they also don't know how to be selfless.
Nikuyah, let me ask you a question real quick. Let's change gears here. You've been our spearhead for a few years now. I don't even know if you feel comfortable answering this next question. Has the Black community truly supported you when things got tough?
No. I feel comfortable answering any questions. I've told no. No, there is also, you know, the what white supremacy does well is it creates this, you know, has created this division in communities. Our community hasn't escaped that. What I have found is that instead of people working with me, it becomes who does she think she is? Had conversations with people and conversations with people who've had conversations with other people about the fact that, you know, the level of liberation I've acquired in my life, they feel judged because they're not there. I've never judged anybody, but there are certain things that I have refused to do. And just because you do them, I don't judge you, but don't expect me to do them with you. And then there has been, of course, you saw it play out, the division of, you know, all skin folks, not kin folks, but I was, you know, accused of not supporting people just because they were Black, even if they weren't working towards a fair and just community. And question on whether I understood what fair and just was. So no, it's been pretty difficult. There hasn't been one area, and people who, even people who've been leaders in the past, who caved, and I don't cave.
Yeah.
And so I've been encouraged to cave at times, and I have to just tell people, I don't know how to do that. Judging you, you had to do what you had to do, but it's not something that I don't know how to do it. And so I thought we would work better together, but that hasn't been, you know, the case. I've received a lot of support, but as you can see, even people who support me, white and Black people, they're scared to say it publicly because everyone is held on to this question is how long will she be there? And I have had someone tell me recently that they have to basically rock with the white people in charge because they're getting all the power back as soon as I announced. So all of those things are very real. And even since the earlier this month, people are like, oh no, they're in power. People already said, I can't join you for this. I can't talk about that with you publicly, things that they were already a part of, because what that might mean for the future if people are aligned with me. And I never knew how long I would be here. So I always gave people the option because I understand that everybody can't do what I do. So whether people were campaigning for positions or, you know, people at City Hall, people out in the community, I would always give people the option to, you know, whether they wanted people to know how they felt about me or not. I understand that it's a difficult situation for people to be in, and everybody is not as strong as I am. So I knew that coming in. You know, I worked at other places where I've had to say, I can pretend that was me or take that, you know, heat because other people couldn't, and I would. So I'm used to it, but I probably would do that differently, you know, moving forward, because it's just not helpful. At some point, you just have to, you can't stay neutral. You can't, you know, not everybody can be supportive behind closed doors. And I think at sometimes, based on things that I know now, some people used that I'll support you behind the scenes to actually, you know, play both sides.
Mayor Walker, what has been like since you made it? Or I'm not hearing.
You're gonna have to roll with it.
Oh.
Me?
No, I couldn't hear you, and then I was talking over you. I'm sorry.
I wasn't talking.
Okay, what's it been like for you since you made the decision not to run? And just in terms of like, has it lifted a burden? Has it clarified how you're gonna take the next steps, or is it sad to let go of what you built over the last 2 years?
No, it's hard. I am trying to figure out this commitment that I made to the community, how to, continue the work. There are people, one of the conversations I had with a citizen was that you made us believe that it was possible, now you leaving. And so what does that mean for people who have been bold and vocal? White people in charge are not going to forget that they were in rooms bold and vocal as they try to scale back some of the progress that we've made, even in just this conversation. One, I said this in my humble opinion, I was only joking a little bit, but one of the campaign slogans that I was, that when I was trying to brainstorm campaign slogans was unmasking the overseers. And one of my friends was listening when I said that. And after I got off the show, we talked about it. But those individuals who are in power, who people may perceive to be helpful, are just a lot more dangerous. They're the people who can get, who can make you believe they have your best interest and then actually, harm you. I mean, they're your Judas, right? I mean, they're just that level dangerous.
She 100% right. Like, I mean, there are people that we help, facilitate on, in my humble opinion, that I understand that once the money gets involved and the power gets involved, people change. And sometimes the real them comes out and sometimes they migrate to the situation. The mindset of America played out here a lot in Charlottesville because we found slave catchers, you know what I'm saying? We found Black people that got pushed into roles that didn't stand as strong for themselves or for the Black issues as they did when it came to dismantling the chief, the mayor, some of the activists, some of the, certain things. And I personally will go on record and say, I'm very disappointed at the weakness and the lack of backbone that the Black man has exuded in this area since the civil rights. Like we are very, very weak holistically for our people. Regardless of, I mean, I can be cool with somebody as a friend, but then I can look at them and say, and look at what you did and judge that. I can separate the two. A lot of people can't, you know what I'm saying? So I can say in the right rooms, you will tell them where we're running to freedom at, like, you know what I'm saying? And Mayor Nikuyah got judged on this, but absolutely, I don't deal with people that hurry with a shot. That's me personally. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it is what it is. It's some bad stuff that took place that if your group of people, just saying because you're Caucasian, would say
it's my group now.
That's your group.
I was born with that group.
Yeah, your group. And had have said like, nah, that ain't right publicly. Not the women, but like the white men would have said, you're wrong. Y'all wrong. You know what I'm saying?
But it's so, last year, maybe it was earlier this year, I can't keep up now, but no, I think it was it was either December, January, February, some point. But it was when the credit card stuff was going on with me. I received a letter and the person sent it anonymously, but the way they had created their email address, I figured out who they were. And I didn't know this person. So I went on, Facebook, you can find anything on. I found the person on Facebook. And then I went on, based on something they said, I searched for them further and I found their actual email address. And I sent them my response back to their real email and not the email that they had created. But it was a Black woman who is, she's married to a white man. She's a teacher in one of our local school systems. And she had talked to either Counselor Hill or Counselor McGill or both. So I'm not quite sure which one that she talked to, but she was very concerned about their white tears. Like they're afraid of you, you scared them. Like these were the type of, things that she said to me. Then she accused me of not getting accomplished in anything, even though her family had voted for me, even though they wouldn't vote, and they had already decided they wouldn't vote for me again, which I didn't understand. And she never could explain, because she said that the credit card issue was the first time she was clearly paying attention if she was saying that I didn't do anything. But I've had a lot of that. People go to, it's mainly been Counselor Hill, but she'll drop some tears and everything she says just has to be true automatically. And someone gave us the book early on, the White Fragility book. Heather read that book. Even with reading that book, there's still a lack of understanding of like what you're doing. But for me and this particular person, we ended up talking, having a phone conversation about an hour long. And I told her, you don't know anything about anything I've done. And this credit card situation, I brought this publicly because they were trying to use it internally to say I had done something wrong, and I hadn't done anything wrong. So I wanted to make it known to the public, because I know they've talked to people, white people are talking publicly, right? Even in private. And so I wanted the community not to get their version of events, no matter how they ultimately felt about it, but to understand my version of events. Not for somebody to leak a memo after I'm off council to say, hey, look what she did and look what she tried to hide. So that's one of the reasons anything regarding me, I've been willing to talk about publicly. But our credit cards have been, statements have been FOIA'd. They go to them first. Like, do anybody think I'm foolish enough to do anything there? But I'm having this conversation with this woman, and her whole concern was how Heather and Sina felt. And that was enough for her to take their word for it. She mentioned the council meeting where I told them they would not, I would not stop talking because they wanted me to. And she was like, you can look on there, they were afraid of you, and even use the other white male counselors during that part of the discussion. And so that's a very real thing that Black people, I now know better than I understood before, that Black people can't fight. If it's a white truth, what is this? Black truth, white truth? Is it a white truth battling a Black truth? We done. If you ain't got the evidence, you are done. And so part of what I've had to battle with is how much truth do I tell? And I've told a lot, but every time that I tell something, they use it as a reason to keep me out of information, which is why I found out the police chief was fired after she was fired, and everyone else knew that this was coming, even though they told various stories. But you would give her a heads up, right? That's the type of, you would have told her. When my credit cards, if y'all paid attention to that, that went to Joe Platania and not to the body, which is the police department, who's supposed to investigate to see if there was a crime. And Joe wrote a memo 3 months before Lisa's memo that was even public that said there is no crime here. You all want a different policy for her to have violated, you have to change the policy. That's what his memo said. But Lisa still wrote a memo and put that out. Now, no matter what I've said, Black people always misuse funds. Of course, poor people who don't have any money misuse funds. So that's a very easy thing to throw out there, and people don't hear anything else but the headline, because of course, that's what we do.
Yeah, that was an amazing thing to watch. And then also to watch the narrative that came out of it, irregardless of the reporting or what was said in council or what you said on Facebook. In addition, it had coincided with, we did a story on John and what went on with Brad Sheffield over there. And we're talking, 20 grand in Paris, and people forget in 4 days.
And I spent $825 and
didn't use your maximum on your personal ever. So like it's within the footprint of the same $600 or whatever we're talking about versus $20,000 in lobsters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing where the black truths, white truths, there's times when
Tell it.
because of CIM, I get to see both the black truths and the white truths, and they're like so far from each other. And the narrative, like no one even hears the conversation that happened on the other side. And that's part of
They're
what
not interested. Because you're white and you actually misuse funds, there was a reason. And we just have to understand the reason, and that's it. You didn't do anything wrong, because white people don't do wrong things. But here I'm being accused of trying to buy votes. They're the cheapest votes ever if you take $825 to buy votes. And any practice in nonprofits understands that people with the least amount of resources, when they are considering how to spend their time, they have to factor in if they're losing resources as a result of spending their time that way. So I simply said, if you're on this panel for criminal justice reform, then I'm going to give you an incentive for being here, because you're losing out. You may have to pay for childcare. You may have had gas. So this will help you a bit. That's it. You're here for an hour. Here's $25, which everybody does. All the nonprofits that we fund do it. When they want Black people to come and tell them what they need to do to fix, so they can get paid $75,000, $100,000 to take what they have said, that's okay. But when
I think the money's bigger these days in Charlottesville. The money's bigger than that these days in Charlottesville.
But I'm saying at different levels, I'm just saying. But yeah, it definitely is. But yeah, and more importantly, I got heat for questioning John's budget coming in. Okay, so let's talk about that. No one listens. Every time it's like, who does she? She doesn't know. And Chip and I just had this conversation. I told you all, not him, he wasn't here at the time, but staff, that we need to dig deeper in our allocation requests and where money is going, and make nonprofits give us more information about their expenditures and revenues. No one wants to do that. We're still not doing it.
Giles, let me ask you a question. What does Charlottesville benefit? Like, instead of saying white Charlottesville, black Charlottesville, what does it benefit by bringing somebody up and exalting them and then sweeping the rug from underneath the bottom? Like what? Because they're quick to try to block the story from getting out in the nation and say, oh, she shouldn't say this and she's anti this. And when I was on Jerry's show, it was mayor against Charlottesville and all this crazy stuff. So what do they benefit by attacking her or Dr. Brackney, or what is the point? What does it, is it power? Is it because she was unmasking? What is the benefit of it? Like, honestly, what do you think? It doesn't have to be your specific feelings, but what do they benefit by doing it this way?
I don't think that they do. I don't think we do, right? But I think that the behaviors motivated by fear are, it's like when you ask the question on the show, what do I got to do
to make you leave me alone?
No, to make you not be afraid of me. As a black man, what do I have to do to make you not be afraid of me? Yeah. Right. And the white people in the room looked around at each other and were like,
right. Right.
There's actually nothing you can do. Right. It's in us. So there's a fear of Mayor Walker. And when she says, I'm going to tear this system down, they believe her in the worst way and not in any of the good ways. And I think that's kind of how white people default to fear and holding on to power and holding on to strings. They will not let go of strings. Even if they say they're letting go of strings, it's like that's the like this let go, and you're ready to do that at any time, and so, I guess one of my questions was when the new council came in, I think I assumed, and I think a lot of people assumed, that it was going to be a smoother, better, more solutions-oriented council.
Yeah, I know.
And
Hold on, Mayor Walker. I gotta say something before you, because I know she gonna tear it up. Go ahead, go.
No, and so that, and then after that, to me, one of the things I realized is that, you know, I think that Wes and Nikuyah were having a conversation up there that was changing and benefiting the city. It was uncomfortable for many, many people.
Agreed.
When it was gone, it wasn't a conversation anymore. It was the mayor fighting the rest of the council to get trust for the things that were
true.
So, and I don't know, it was very hard to understand why that was happening.
And one thing I want to say before she starts talking is that, you know, Black people have a saying that we got to be twice good to get the same recognition, or even better, right? But it was one of those things where when she showed what it took for her to be at the place she was, and then she required it out of everybody else, nobody wanted to have that kind of pressure put on them. You know what I'm saying? So like and even going way back to the slavery days, to how they were driven to produce, and so people can make money, right? When you put one of us in charge and we require everybody, Black or white, to go under the same standards by which it took for us to get ahead, it seems that white America does not like that type of pressure putting on them. And then it becomes, who does she think she is, or who do he think he is? But you'll push me as long as I'm pushing my own people like that. But the second that I'm in charge and I push everybody to come up to that level, then it's, you know, it's all types of things, which is funny to me because Black people are known as lazy and all these other type things, but who takes more vacation, you think? Black people, white people?
Yeah, you know what
I'm saying? So
that's an
a vacation, I'm just asking, a vacation is a break. So who take more breaks? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, when you look at it, it's just one of those things where, because she, in my opinion, was the best of us for the job that she went into at the time frame that she went into it. It was yay Nikuyah until she said, okay, this is how fast you got to walk to get this done. This is what you got to be willing to give up. This is how much skin in the game you got to be able to give up. Then it was, oh God, the worst Black woman against Charlottesville ever had. You know, that don't make sense to me. I'm sorry. I just go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm not patient. So, you know, I think every day when I wake up is if I'm helpful or hindering to somebody's life, and especially people who are already struggling, you all know where my passion is. So if there's something on my plate that I can fix, and if it's something on my plate I can't fix, I am trying to figure out what in the system needs to be broken down so that I won't end up in a place where I have to tell someone I can't do anything to help them. Very uncomfortable space, because a lot of people can leave a pile, you know, a stack of photos on their desk at the end of the day and they can go home. But actually talking about how we help people today and break down the system that is requiring that they need that help, that requires a lot of energy, and people, they don't. The other thing, you said twice as good. I'm just gonna say, people. I mean, I don't deal with Kanye no more, but Kanye line that I love that says, I done forgot more than you ever thought of.
Yeah.
So I'm in rooms with people and they don't like that. They did not expect for me to be who I am. It's uncomfortable for them to be around someone who is as smart as I am, who picks up information as quickly as I am, who connects the dots as quickly as I am. And then I'm also unafraid of saying I don't know something, but I'm gonna know it before we leave this room. So where other people, and especially women, might sit sometimes and they're quiet because they don't know, I'm asking all the questions. Hold on, back it up. So, I don't matter all the way down till I ask. And so they're not used to that, and they don't like it. They don't like it. So I'm in a room with a lot of people who make a lot of money. And I'm just like, they just out here giving people checks. They just giving people money what is your qualification? So again, I don't ever have to say that. Just by me being in a room doing what I do makes people question, or that my willingness to question people. And this is coming up more with COVID than anything, people are like, we're listening to the experts. I just talked to one of UVA's top executives. We've been talking for a couple of weeks now through email. Okay, first of all, everyone hates the fact that I keep saying, let the experts become experts, because nobody's expert on COVID yet.
Yeah.
If you are, I'm scared of you.
Yeah.
Okay, but people are learning. And so I just suggested that they listen to some different experts, and maybe some experts outside the United States who are not centered in capitalism, because that's why we're making our decisions. And they didn't like that. And so then I sent them some information from the World Health Organization where they had flyers up with people at football games with masks on. Maybe you can just have people. And that was the conversation. Can you just have people ask them to wear masks outside? Whether you do anything to mandate it or not, can you just ask them? And then I get this whole, email chain about we're listening to the top people everywhere in the world. We got the best and the brightest. And well, can you listen to somebody else best and brightest? And then I sent that information in response. But that's what everybody, that's just one example. But all people feel like I'm the expert. I worked my way up. I have this credential, so I can tell everyone else in the room. And so they look at me in the room and they say, again, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? So that's one thing. The earlier part of this discussion about the easier time on council, like what the heck happened? I'm still trying to, I know a little bit. Like Councilor McGill came in, she's very fragile. She was very concerned about Heather's feelings. I spazzed out. I have never lied to people. We were in a very heated meeting once. And I know like the moment I think that Councilor McGill started turning off, but I pulled out of a discussion on a personnel issue because Councilor Snook tried to bring in Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. We're in a closed session. It pissed me off that he was using this to try to protect a white person. So if I need to say anything more about how ironic that is. And again, we were supposed to be making decisions about who was best for the organization. And that was it. And so that was a challenge. But in that meeting, I was not happy about how he had spent his weekend looking up this information to come and try to use it against me as if I was making the decision and accuse me of making a decision based on race. And I told him and Heather how I felt about it.
That's crazy.
And because of the forcefulness and probably the inappropriate way, because I was pissed with them. And if you all remember last summer, we were having these like marathon closed sessions and they were insane. And so it only took things like that for her to start turning off. And then I received a message that was like, do you really need to be a part of anything else? That was one of her 5, I think, bullet points. I don't have a message. If I had planned to talk about it, I would probably head it out. But I told her, like, what does that look like? Like, why did you say this? Like, do you, the mayor, have to be involved in anything else? So then when I tried to have her look at how I was seeing her response to me, things pretty much shut down since then. So after Dr. Richardson was gone, I don't think that I've met with any of them regularly. They stopped having meetings. They accused me of, basically torturing them privately, but none of my previous, the last conversation I had with Councilman McGill before this discussion was like a 2-hour conversation while she was on vacation, speaking of vacations, walking up and down a beach. Right. And so I'm just like, wow. So we go from this 2-hour conversation, which is in our phone records, to like no conversation. And she did not allow me to curse her out or yell at her or belittle her, or anything they would say for 2 freaking hours. I'm like, that just did not happen. And most of the times when we've had disagreements, like even Councilor Snook, we have never had one phone conversation that anything negative happened in. The challenge is that he does not say that ridiculous foolishness that he says in public to me when we are one-on-one. There has never been a conversation where it's like, I'm hanging up or whatever. The only counselor that has happened with is Heather. And so everyone else is basing their feelings on things that everyone knows has occurred or something Heather has said without even asking me. Like this thing that's happening now. What is the truth with the police chief, city manager, whatever? And everybody is like, nope, we 100% believe him. So I'm asking all these questions based on things that I know, things Chip and I have discussed. And they're like, she's making that up.
I think it's fair. I mean, just from the journalism side of that one, I mean, it's still, you know, very opaque, right? Apart from the communications we have heard, which were pretty clear. I mean, you know, so there's, but it's really confusing, again, from the outside when there's not someone who comes out and says, this is what happened, right? Yeah. It's like someone comes out and says, this is not what happened. Yeah. And you're like, well, just tell us what happened. And you know what I've seen from the standpoint of the dude who did it. What happened? Just say it. And then people know it, and then they can attack it or defend it or question or what have you. But right, it's a lot of the stuff has always been like this. It's like, this is not what happened. You don't know what's going on. Yeah. And you're like, yes, you're right. We don't know what's going on. That's why we're asking you what is going on. You know, it's really weird, you know, and you get to a place where I think a lot of the city is just sort of tuned out because it's so, the last few times they tried to find the cheese, they didn't get it. And then they just quit trying to find the cheese, but not in black Charlottesville.
Well,
maybe. Well, let me ask you this question.
I can't hear them.
If what the mayor says, and I have to say it this way, Mayor. So if what the mayor says is true, happened on city council, by the way they felt, by the way that she was talking to them, right? Are they qualified to be at city council and over the rest of us that live here if your emotions in a situation prevent you from doing anything else for the city? So one person made you upset, and how many people roundabout and how many how many miles this is, right? So whatever the amount of people that's in the city of Charlottesville, we said we're gonna shut down because I don't want to deal with her. The rest of y'all just have to, you know, she's the enemy because I got mad at her. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Yeah. Right. So how can that be? And I like a lot of them that's on city council. It's only like one that I haven't really dealt with. You know what I'm saying? Two. And even the ones coming up, I know them. One of them at least, you know. So I'm wondering, can you do that to a city instead of looking at what she did? If you shut down because you are unhappy with the situations, are you good for the city? Yeah, I mean, it's super like, here's my response to that is like Charlottesville municipal government in my time covering it up until 2017, up until then, was this sleepy, bureaucratic, well-paid, intelligent service system. We take big property taxes and we make and draw tourism dollars, and we make a real estate money machine that feeds a service system that makes first-class services. And department heads get to be the shogun of those service systems, and they get big chunks of money to do that thing. And in a strong manager type government, that can turn into a really, really passive but system that is essentially an unconscious bias machine that hooks up a money machine that's attached to it and excuses that for saying we're raising the tax base. So that's coming back to y'all. When the mayor comes in and says it's not coming back to us, some people say, oh, well, we didn't elect you to work for, you're a part of this city, you're supposed to work for everybody.
Yeah.
Which means the 80% white affluent people really don't need your help as a city. And we're not, you talking about city as a government, not city with a capital C, like the whole thing, the whole culture of the thing. You're not in charge of that as the mayor. You're in charge of the city.
You
right?
talking about the mayor or Chief Brackett? Which
Well, whoever. I mean,
okay.
you know, whoever. When we say the city, people are talking about the city government, or are they talking about this whole thing, right? Including UVA,
but the
including the
city
county.
normally is the reverse, and that's what they expected. And the people who they normally elect follow those rules. So if you happen to be able to assist these poor people over there, these Black people over there, then okay, you can do a little bit for them. But all of my white 70% needs are met all the time. And then what are their needs? Like their needs are really, does my water run? Is my trash picked up? Can you come get my darn cat out the tree? Like it's really like.
Do we have nice enough trees?
Yeah, and are there enough? Not just nice enough. Are there enough? And you don't plan to put any housing or drive enough cars enough to trees that are, you know, these community wonders, because you're not doing it right. And so that's been the problem. So then you have what they never have to deal with before, because at every level, state, federal, people run often, and because they need the Black vote to win, the governor race is showing that now, right? So they'll start making all these promises of things that they're going to do. Most people don't have to deal with what Northam had to deal with. You know, were you the Blackface or the Klan? So then that forced him to focus on what he claimed he was going to do, because he had to, since he wouldn't tell us, because he couldn't, I don't know if that was me at all.
I mean, there's a few high school dances I don't remember, but I think I would.
You remember being dressed up blackface, I know that much.
But he's probably the one in recent history who has had to say, okay, so since I'm not going to admit to any of this, I have to actually do something so people can, you know, think I'm with them. And they wouldn't have been hung up by a tree if I had, you know, 30 years ago by me. But anyway, most people don't have to, they can just make promises, and then until they're running again for re-election, they never have to mention Black people again, right? Or they, as long as you're only trying to give Black or other poor people crumbs, then you're fine. You have me who are like, no, we can tear this system down. If you all are really open to like the liberation of a people, I'm gonna help us get there. And then people start realizing what they have to let go of, what they have to give up, the mindset change that they have to go through, some things they have to admit about themselves and announce publicly so that they won't revert back to their old ways. And then people start saying, oh no, I like this white privilege. I like when it comes up. I like the benefits that my family have. You know, I'm not letting this go.
But that's one of the questions I have, because in some ways I'm like, you don't have to let it go. You don't let it go. I mean, you're never going to let it go as white privilege. You still have it. Like you still have so much that you're going to be fine, people, right?
Yeah,
like
so
who's not going to be fine?
Yes, in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Dismantling the system is not going to take that away immediately. But if it's authentic policies that we're implementing, you do have to let some things go. You may not have the house the size of the friends that you've compared your, that you haven't lived up to the expectations. Your degree, which shouldn't have gotten you as far as it have gotten you, won't get you that far, because there will be people who will be in jobs working next to you who don't have those degrees, but have the skills, right? Your kid may not be the only kid sitting in programs like Quest that was created when schools didn't want to integrate. So you have to be okay with your kids being in classrooms with people who you didn't sit in classrooms with, and to date, they haven't had to sit in classrooms with, right? You have to be willing to go to parks where you don't occupy all the space. And you have to be willing to fight for justice, and not just when it benefits your family, right? You have to, oh, it's a shooting in my neighborhood, but you were just chanting 3 weeks ago, you didn't believe in mass incarceration, but you can't connect the calls you're calling, response you want to the shootings requires heavy resource allocation to these communities and for people's lives to change drastically so that they can have hope. So that's not $1 million here, $1 million there. That is tens, hundreds of millions of dollars that you have to be willing to allocate. You will have to give it up. You cannot hold on to it.
Yeah.
And that is what people know and have always known to be true. And that is why people had the discussion of, do we free those who are enslaved or do we do it over 100 years? And even in Charlottesville, we paid widowers of the Civil War, right? We paid them. So that whole you lost property, that is a thing that occurred here. The same people who are protesting the future land use map and the comp plan changes are the same people who shut our schools down and didn't want their kids to go to school together. People like to separate themselves and say, oh, you know, I'm on a mountaintop with you or whatever they say. You are not.
Just curious news question. Is the comp plan good for Black Charlottesville? Is the future, you know, as it was drafted, you know,
Yeah.
First
Well,
version?
we're still going through changes with that,
Yeah.
but I sent the email this morning. And my email said, I don't know if this plan will work. And the reason I know it won't work, even the proposed plan, is because Black people don't own a lot of the land. And the land that they do own, we are categorizing as a sensitive area. So if they receive the resources to scale up in a way, they wouldn't be able to. So we have to be mindful of that too. Change this, the concerns that the citizens have about in my neighborhood, they don't want affordable housing there, but they was like, if it's gonna be affordable housing, I will want it. They're lying, but anyway. Their concerns are valid in that respect. It won't produce affordable housing just because we wrote it on paper. So what I said in my email this morning is that the government is going to have to be more intentional than it was when it was in agreement with things like redlining, segregated neighborhoods, you know, refusing to address poverty issues, all of those things. They're going to have to be more intentional than they were then to undo this. So if they're intentional about the policies, the amount of resources that they are going to allocate, if they're going to make sure that the only developers who are not building over on Locust Avenue or something are wealthy developers who are only going to build market rate units, then yeah, this plan will be better than the current plan. If not, my end of my email said it's only going to further the displacement and gentrification. And we know that, but that's for anything. So that's whether the plan stays the same or whether we change it. There has to be the intentionality behind the governing body of the community. And right now it's not.
It's an interesting moment because it's one of the few large scale plans where the intention has been articulated clearly to create affordability and to dismantle segregation.
Well, it's somewhat been articulated clearly because not even every counselor or every planning commission member has agreed upon what affordability means for Charlottesville.
Right. And
so till we do that, it hasn't been clearly articulated. And everyone has been, since I've been here and before I got here, has been comfortable with, if you're 80% AMI, our AMI is what, $93,700. So if you 80% of that, you can live in my neighborhood. Well, people who are earning, $80,000 so a year, they think they're doing pretty well, right? So we're not even at your firefighters, teachers. They're not the ones, most of them making $80,000 a year. So you got to come a little lower, right? And workforce housing, what is it? If I'm working at Airmark, even if you don't find any value in me, I'm workforce. If you come and bring your kids through my McDonald's or Chick-fil-A line, I'm workforce, right? If you get your house clean and I'm your house clean keeper, I'm workforce, right? If I'm your secretary, I'm workforce. So people, again, qualify what workforce they're talking about. And so we don't have a clear understanding of that yet. And so while it has said affordability, I think if it hadn't been for the pandemic, we would have probably pushed, because we were growing AMI by about $10,000 for a couple of years. We would have been in probably the $100,000 for our median income. That's coming soon. What does that mean? Because someone earning $100,000 a year, even though that may be the area median income, and there are a lot more people doing well, those individuals are not doing badly. And it's very different from someone earning $14,000 a year. And we don't think still that we should do anything but pray for low-income people, that they won't be lazy, and they won't be. And even different low-income people, because if you're Black and low-income in Charlottesville, you get very different feedback than if you're a refugee and low-income in Charlottesville, right? If you're Hispanic in Charlottesville right now, because they're, replacing the workforce of the lazy Black people in Charlottesville. There's a very different conversation going on, even at that level, on Black and brown people here.
Okay, I got a question for you. I asked you to come on here for an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have other things to do. Been great conversation. I've sure enjoyed it. Is there anything that you want to say and close out, or is this more that you want to talk about? I mean, it's your call. We just want to be respectful of your time.
I'm okay. I have a few minutes if we can wrap up.
Okay. All right. Now, Jack.
The Razor's question.
Yeah. Them last other things.
The Razor.
It's my thing honestly was more of, I wanted to make sure that she knew that at least one Black male that wasn't trying to sleep with her had her back. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times in our community, we have a reason why we're doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like when we had the thing, James Watson, Bellamy Brown, everybody liked to allude to the relationship that me and the chief had because of what she did for us for 2017, letting the food cart be down there, right? So there has to be a reason why I was supporting. See how
little it don't take much for us to compromise our integrity and morals. You can't be doing something because it's really what you believe in.
Right. So I physically want
for
to
crumbs.
I'm not one of the scared people to say, no, she's right. No, I don't agree with that. No, you know what I'm saying? That's Razor. That's who I am. So I wanted her to know, like, okay, there are things that you say that I agree with. I'm going to put my skin in the game. I'm going to put my face to it, not just that voice on the radio saying things that nobody knows who it is. So, and I wanted her to feel, comfortable in that as well. It's like, what I'm saying? She ain't gonna play I ain't gonna be in her face with COVID talking. She ain't gonna play that, but you know what I'm saying? I want her to know, physically, and give a chance to speak her piece.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, same here, Mayor Walker. I think, this city owes you a ton for what you put in. And I know you're not going away and you're not going to stop doing it, but I think a lot of people feel that really deeply, and you probably hear it from only a small few. And then even those few, but you didn't do this right, and you didn't do that right, and that was a dumb decision. And why did you say that? And it's like, are you kidding me? I'm in like a prize fight with 10 opponents, and you're asking me why I can't even remember, honestly, why I did it that way then, because I'm trying to do one thing. And
I remember everything. Well, unfortunately,
that's what I guess all politicians do. That was another lesson I learned in journalism. But and in general, political people get more sensitive and take things more personally the farther they go, which you'd think would be the opposite. Oh, you have more experience. You've been through this rodeo. You've taken a lot in the mouth, and it's not ever the case. Actually, people are more vindictive, more suspicious, more fearful, more mistrusting as they go through their political careers. And I think
that was one of the things. That was one of the things that I have been contemplating since January, because I was going to leave in January because I thought that the work I was doing, it was just tainting my spirit, and that it was important for me not to leave reduced by being here and trying to be of service. And so, but it is so, people are so sensitive. I'm not sensitive. I do get pissed off and I don't like ignorance and I don't mind a fight, which is, I need to spend my time better because I'll fight with people all day, then stay up all night working. I shouldn't have been doing that, you know, over the years. And so I do know that now, but I am learning that about, like, people are so sensitive and they take things personally without looking at the bigger picture. Like, will this affect me? Will this affect my immediate family? So if not, like me not being there, if this community really was concerned about equity and justice and fairness, all the things people claim, there is no one who can get on a stage with me or on a Zoom, COVID, and convince the community and have some evidence to back it up that they are in a better position than I am to help us get there. No one in the community. And so that the fact that instead of that being the question that they asked, it becomes, why did you write this post that went international? Like, who woke up really and thought the whole world would be interested? I didn't think that. So that wasn't my plan. And anyone who has watched me to date knows that I'm not even interested in what the whole world thinks anyway. So I wouldn't have done that for that because I don't pay that much attention, you know, to people. And I haven't even used the resources the way I could have used them over the past few years because that's not what's been important to me. But some of those things that I am thinking about, you know, differently now, but we're not really asking ourselves those questions. Because if we were, that's what we would say. And, you know, I had to ban myself from responding to people over the weekend on social media, which didn't help because I said I have to read this entire book before, you know, before I do it. So I didn't finish the book and I didn't respond. But I did send an email yesterday to a Black man who thought they needed to take up for counsel without asking what did they do. And then they felt slighted in a way from something I had sent them previously. And I'm like, I sent that to you on September 9th. Why did it take you so long to have these negative feelings about it? Because it wasn't about what I sent them. It was about a post that I had put on Facebook and I was bullying counselors. Bullying them? Come on now.
Can I ask you both a question though, just based on this? Because you said, I mean, we talked about what's happened in this council and the mayor explained the interpersonal pieces of that, which I imagine in COVID and Zoom and without, you know, it's probably even harder not to take things out of context or be able to fix things on the fly. But like city politics in DC, where I grew up, or lots of other places, it's never nice. No one's ever nice. And they don't come in trying to be nice. It's like 11 people trying to kill each other at all times, representing their food bowls in their ward, right? But in Charlottesville, the expectation is that everyone will be together and be nice and vote together every time.
But that doesn't happen. That's
Right.
also a myth. And there's even written accounts and like The Hook, you know, and all of those, that old publication where they talk about, there's one article where they get like all the former mayors together and they're like, we disagreed and we didn't get along. But again, they eventually got to a point where they had these behind the scenes discussion and then the votes happened. And that's what people are okay with going back to. Like you can see what my colleagues are doing now. Two of them are not coming on, are not going to have enough information to, and most people just are not ready when they first come on. I've just been engaged. So I get myself ready because I'm going to ask the questions. Other people feel like, oh, I'm stupid. I'm not going to say that. You think whatever you want of me. I got 101 questions and where you want to start and how long you got. And so that's different. So you have now probably a year or two where the only person that's probably going to say a lot of things is the person that should not talk at all. Leading counsel, Counselor Snook. That's what you're going to have. And the other people are going to sit there and feel like, oh, do I know? And I'm hoping that Counselor Payne steps up, because I'm really, really surprised at just how his ability to just disconnect, because that's what he's done. He's just not connected. And when he is connected to it, he has sided with whiteness. And so that's, been a concern I've had with him. But hopefully he will, because he knows a lot of things. He is smart, and hopefully the DSA and all of that work that he's done to learn new information will come to light. But what I've found that white people go back to white, vote white, white agreement, white understanding, like all of that happens without like a blink. It just is, it's a natural at a level that I have watched it since I've been on council that I did not fully understand until I got here.
For me, Charlottesville and the surrounding places, Orange, Harrisonburg, you got the founding fathers that built a lot of what this country has been built on, right? So it's almost, I compare it to your grandparents, that everybody respects your granddaddy. He's something in the community, but he beat the hell out your grandma. You know what I'm saying? So to let other people know what is going on or how people are treated or the way things are done, is like you telling family business, and we got to get rid of you. So that's how they come against, in my personal opinion, because I'm not from here. You know what I'm saying? I just got skin in the game for different things around here, but that's what it is. Like, we're supposed to be a shining light because of what we did for America in the constitutions and the declarations, and you just name it. There's so much stuff within 100-mile radius that this area is responsible for, that when you go to say that, no, we got some problems, just like the South and just like the North and everybody else, then you become the problem because you're telling family business. Doesn't matter that it's bad. You just don't tell nobody. So that's what
we talked about that in the show. I mean, that's part of white culture, if you want to call it that, right? That secrecy, compartmentalization, comfort with versions of the truth, and preservation of a story of progress and success to the exclusion of truth, or truly. And so people who don't buy that, those are the ones who commit suicide. Those are the ones like my friend's boy who died at 16, because they don't like, white people are also not good to each other. They play, we revert and we play, but we're not good to each other.
No, I'm aware.
So
no, that's the thing. I've had friends, family members who have attended St. Anne's, Covenant, Tandem. I have been at the treatment center where the person only came because they didn't want any other therapist that could provide them services, to know that they had been court mandated for services. I have been in the room when the person who's benefiting from their white privilege get their child off, but then call the next child a monster. One of the posts on Facebook from someone I knew, there was an overdose at a school that they had posted. Those things, drug use, addiction, issues surrounding like sexual, like things that people would label our kids monsters and all of that stuff for. All of that stuff happens. We know all of that stuff happens. The data on who uses drugs and why, who sells drugs, where do the drugs come from? Like, we are past the point where we can pretend any of that stuff is just like Black issues, right? But when you think about all of that, you think Black people. And that's part of the problem in Charlottesville. Even when we talk about poverty, there is a lot of poverty that Black people are not, that concerns white people. There are a lot of white people who are living in Charlottesville and living in poverty. But what we learned with the former president was that that doesn't matter, because the common ground always comes back to what? Identify with whiteness. People are learning with this governor's race is how quickly they had the, oh, Biden's here. Because I don't know, Giles, how y'all forget so quickly. I don't know where it go. So maybe that's a question for you. I just don't know, because we have somebody terrorize us. If somebody came through like 45 did, we talking about it still. We ain't like he out of office and it's done. Yeah. We setting the scene up for something else. What's gonna happen next? You know,
it's children's children.
Razor loves Trump. What are you talking about? Come on, man.
Now, here we go.
This show is crazy.
We back to black lies and white lies. Look.
But now with the governor's race, and they're talking about how close it is, and you know, wanting people to come out to, y'all just had oh, Biden's here. And then as soon as Biden's here, then you forget the fight you thought you had to fight. I mean, there were Black people who were like, if Black people wouldn't get the shittiest end of the deal, we'd let Trump stay in there because y'all deserve Trump, right? That's the thought process. Because this is what normally happens.
That's where he's coming from. I just watch these people squirm for another 4 years. Yes, don't make any difference.
If I can stay in the heat, yeah, let them stay over here. Let them stay right
we
there.
know that we are going to suffer more than anyone. You know, so then you have to bring it back. Is this a lesson that you want to let people learn? Or one of the posts that I saw that resonated with me the most last year was, in March, you'll murder a Black woman. In September, you'll deny her justice. And by November, you'll ask Black women to come and save you with their vote.
They've been doing that with the church for a long time.
And so in this community, as soon as 2018 August happened and it wasn't the same response, the people who were occupying the streets were officers. The conversation started shifting then. It was only a year after August 2017. It wasn't a complete year that I had been here. And I had to remind people, I didn't base my slogan, my campaign, my platform, my talking points off of a summer of hate. Mm-hmm. Every summer I've lived has been, y'all been hateful to me. I remember, I did not forget. I remember seeing how people have been treated. These things did not come up for me because of 2017. I have been clear my whole life, I will fight this battle. And so people thought, because they forget so quickly, no, she won't. And then every day when I came on, showed up more forceful than the next day, because it just grows with me. It's just gonna get stronger and more forceful where people think they're wearing me down. And they weren't ready. And you'll have some of the people who show up, the people who are always commenting, the people who are joining the boards and commissions like the Human Rights Commission, those women. When it comes down to real issues and there's a real person, they're ghost. Completely silence. And it's back to their feelings. How do we feel? How do you make me feel?
Well, you talked about white fragility. I think that's a big part of the show, trying to figure out how to talk across it and through it. Razor doesn't tolerate that either. It's a hard, I think, as you both know, for white people, it's layers of the onion. Like, everyone, if I say, I'm not fragile, it's not true, right?
Yeah.
And then, because when you get to a place where you're talking about something real and the Black person gets mad at you, instead of thinking that it's like what happened when your brother gets mad at you and this is going to grow your relationship and you're going to walk away and come back, it's, I'm taking my ball, I'm going home. You got mad at me. That was it. I was here until you got mad at me. I came for you. Mm-hmm. now I'm mad because you're mad, and we're mad.
Because we don't have a right to have feelings unless you give us permission to have them.
Yeah, that's.
And
good.
you would never give us permission to be angry at you because you don't think we have a right to be angry.
Well, Sarat gets mad at me all the
But
time.
won't acknowledge that though.
Huh?
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you, and I'm just saying white
I'm
people
just
in
joking.
general. Yeah,
I'm just joking.
but I said white fragility, but there's a book by Carol Anderson that's titled White Rage, Black Woman. It's a little bit deeper than right. And so that's the nice way of saying it.
Yeah. Well, we talked about white anger before on the show too, which is cold and relentless.
It it simmers. Like it just always stays there. Even if a smile comes behind it, like it's always there. And a lot of times when, let's say, the mayor goes off and does whatever she does, then the next person that looks like her comes in too, and then they blast her and try to, you know what I'm saying, like go after her. So it's I
think white anger is revenge.
Unforgiving.
It is revenge based.
It's unforgiving.
It is revenge based.
Yeah.
It is not an expression of emotion. It is it is a articulation of an intent to
it doesn't go anywhere, but nobody will admit it.
And because you have the power, and that's the difference when people want to label everybody the ability to be racist. No, racism comes with power to influence and dictate a trajectory of a person's life. And that's what white rage does. So people don't understand, I've risked everything to tell the truth. I am not wealthy, right? I've been struggling the entire time I've been on there. Like the things that I have to even consider about what is possible for me to be able to take care of my family since I've been on and after I leave. No one else has ever had to have those conversations. And anyone who even considers hiring me or investing or whatever, they will be asked, why are you helping her, right? And so people don't do it. So that, and then the conversations my family members have had and the questions, what jobs my kids cannot consider in this community if people know who they are. So if you have ever paid attention, you don't see my family because they've already, even though they stay out of the way, they've already had to deal with so much because they're my kids. So this has affected us in ways that, like, the sacrifice is real and we all knew it. We're not fools. So we had the conversation beforehand, but even now when consideration of what's next, I'm almost having to go outside of the community even to put myself in a position to be able to take care of my family. Because even before I was on council, I was whitelisted. So now imagine what it looks like.
We think it was a good show.
Black truths, white truths.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mayor Walker, thank you.
Thank you
For your work and for coming on the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties if they were messing with you.
It was fine.
Razor, you got last words? How are you closing this one? Is it pie recipes again?
Yeah, I got this thing where I make up all kind of like pie recipes about the show and stuff like this.
Okay.
This one gonna be a unity pie. You know what I'm saying? That's all it's gonna be. It's gonna be a unity pie, man, where you have to take the ingredients that you, as white people, take the ingredients that you don't want to ingest, the truth about whatever that situation is. Might not be your truth, might be my truth. And you have to mix it along with the truth of what makes it better for your children. Because I'm sure white people are starting to notice that isolating yourself while you remember when you were talking about you take the right vacations, you go to right places and stuff like that. Well, we're starting to develop money. We ended up in the same places too, you know? So, yeah. So when you go to Martha's Vineyard, I'm coming too, you know what I'm saying? In my own, luxury vehicle and whatnot. So,
and I'm trying to get the indigenous people to let me on the island that nobody on. They kill them when they approach. I'm trying to send my face Cause I'm like, my people ain't out here. They must be on these secluded islands
Yeah.
I've been on forever.
Yeah.
Let me on.
That's my whole thing, man. Like, we got to figure out, like, if we really want to make this better, all of us got to get punched in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no easy way to get from where we are. You don't go from slavery to equality. That doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? Something has to be given. When the other races came over, the Irish, everybody was given something, whether it was the fire department, the police department, the mob, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was given something to have equality, right? But when Black people ask for something, you're excluding yourself. If you want BTV, you're trying to segregate yourself. What if something was called white entertainment television? Like, it's always a combatant to what Black people try to do to advance themselves, right? So it's only going to take when everybody's mouth is bleeding and then the fight is over and everybody's collars hanging down where you really can understand one another. Just like childhood, it's no different. And I'm not talking about everybody going to war and take up arms and shoot one another and Second Amendment. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about and I think that COVID is going to end up doing that, because not you, but when your kids start dying because the hospital is only filled with people that did not get vaccinated, and you start burying your kids at an alarming rate, like we felt like we were burying ours from the police, a protest should not end up as a riot no more than an arrest should end up as a murder. You know what I'm saying? So when you come to the realization of we all gonna lose at this battle right here if we don't fix it, that's when you'll tell your brother, shut up. I don't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because what you talking about is going to end up killing my child, your nephew. Your ideology don't matter to me now because I'm getting ready to take a loss that I'm not willing to lose. Then you'll be able to see things from my lens. You'll be able to put my shoes on. Yeah. So that's my path.
UNITY.
Yeah.
From Trouble T. Roy.
Yeah. So, Mayor, thank you.
Thanks for having me.